YouTube, how the heck you doing? This is Corey here at the Watcher of Realms. We're going to go through all the demon soldiers. Where do you get them? How to farm them? Are they relevant? Which ones are good? Which ones are bad? And how do you actually use them? So first and foremost, right? We have the Scalekin Demon Captain. Now this one you really get from Gear Raid 1. He's not the best. You're not really going to use him much. The main thing is he kind of gives a buff to your units, so they do more damage. They also, I believe, receive more damage as well. It's something like that. Let me see. Here we go. So he crashes into them, immune to all CC, Blood Rampage, periodically cast Bloodthirst on all ground melee units, increasing their damage dealt and damage taken. So yeah, he buffs them but also debuffs them. So that's kind of the reason why you don't see him as often. Also, for the most part, he kind of just gets zapped. If you see here, he has A defense, A magic resist. So things like Brokir are going to be able to slow him down. And then things like Boreas, Nora, Silas, Ingrid, Praetus, they're just going to melt him, right? One of his main benefits is he's kind of cheap, right? 5 cost, but he just doesn't do it, right? What you really see is Maw. Maw, which is the other demon captain, which you get for, I believe, 50k blood. And then you can also get shards from him from Guild Boss, right? He is the one that you kind of mainly see in Guild v Guild right now. Right now. So 9 costs, right? Main thing that people do is they go ahead and drop him, and then they drop the Fool, or they drop the Fool, and then they drop him, and then they drop Axis, right? Lots of variation in how you actually drop him, but the main thing is you need a source of either healing or shielding to kind of go along with him. Otherwise, he just gets zapped. So one of the good things is super high attack. He actually has a really high ability to just kind of one-shot tanks every couple of attacks. I think it's not this. Where is it? No. Interesting. I know one of these, I think, is this. There we go. Is this. This is what you'll usually see where he kind of goes ahead and like one-shots the unit. So he's good. If you can get him, obviously use him. But I feel like the best ways to use him is honestly if you're seeing like a Regulus, just use him against Regulus. You'll probably one-shot Regulus with some axes as well. You're good to go. So that's where Maw is used. Now, these are my favorite units. They're really underrated just because of how really good they are, like how much damage they can do, how much range they get. It's pretty easy to go ahead and kind of snipe units from like super far away because they'll usually get 3 or 4 hits before they're really taken out. So use these against things like Valderon. You'll probably have a good shot, right? So you get this from Gear Raid 1. Realistically speaking, from Gear Raid 1, this is probably the most common drop legendary. So not impossible to get. The passive 15% defense, kind of nice because you'll probably use this against like something like Torador as well because you want that extra range, right? So super good unit. Not the most used legendary hero or legendary demon soldier, but it's mainly just because it's kind of like a win more, right? If you really need to go ahead and snipe the units back, you either need this to work or the run fails, right? So there's usually other strats that people will go ahead and use instead of the Bookkeeper, but for me, he tends to work. He tends to do what I need him to do. The Fool. Now, the Fool is probably one of the most sought after ones because he's really good. You drop him with the Epic Magic Damage Tank or the regular tank or Maw. He will go ahead and provide shields, give them significant amount of HP like right now, which is super, super valuable, especially whenever you kind of get to the point where people are starting to burst you down with, once again, right? Boreas, Ymrit, Nora, Ardea, Arrogance, things like that. Units that are just going to chunk you down. You really want the Fool. Now, you get him from Gear Raid 2, but also, if we were to back up a second, right? You used to get him, and I'm not sure if you still get him. You went ahead and completed all the challenge stages, then also the main stages in the Demonic Crusade. You used to get him So I don't know if they've changed this. I feel like they released this whenever, Guild v Guild first came out, and they just forgot about it, which kind of sucks because it was actually cool content. It was like actually cool, but they haven't dropped anything for this in months. Honestly, I think it's been like a year, so it was cool whenever we had it. So we're back, right? The Fool, probably the best support unit in the game for Demon Soldiers. Destroyers, these, I thought I was actually way closer to level 4. Never mind. Surprise. Anyways, these super useful. Right now you're probably going to use these against like nightmare teams because your main goal is to ideally kind of swarm up Torador and then just kill them off. Or against like chaotic teams, that's kind of where you're going to see him be used as frequently, right? You really just want to kind of take out Valderon, pop his passes because then he'll deal less damage, and then just kind of run through him with axes, right? So level 3 right now for me, but level 5 is going to take forever to get to, but super solid. He's tanky. He really benefits from kind of pairing him with a Fool. Any extra HP like right now helps this unit. One of the best things about him too is he does have a AoE attack. So that's where you'll kind of go ahead and use him to go ahead and say, let's say there's a tank in front and then maybe a more squishy unit behind the tank. This guy's pretty good at kind of addressing that for you. So overall, he's pretty good. One of the main negatives is that he takes a while to hit, but when he does hit, he hits, right? That's the nice part about him. Now we have the Night of Destruction. Night of Destruction is probably one of the more commonly used legendaries, especially right now. Super good against those nightmare teams because he will deal with Ajax, and then you have decent HP on him to survive like arrogance, and then you'll just drop axes afterwards, right? To kind of take them out. So super good unit overall. I mean, one of his main benefits is he comes from Gear 3. So with that being said, right, you're going to farm your Soulbound Arcana, you're going to farm your Infernal Roar. You're probably going to get a decent chunk of copies of this guy. So that's where he's used. Level 5 is kind of nice. You get that 15% defense, which is super good because even though he has a magic resist, he's honestly pretty tanky. Some of these criteria I don't feel like are super accurate. I don't think he's S for attack. He's not. I'd say like he's maybe an A. S for HP, yeah. A for defense, yeah. But honestly, I think he's S for magic resist. He's really good when it comes to magic resist. Now, flyers. Legendary at least. These are almost level 4. That's what it is. So, super good. I mean, right now they're not super common. Main reason for that is because you have units like Yovar, Silas, Praetus. They're going to kind of snipe out flyers, especially Yovar, right? But if you have them tanky enough, they can actually go ahead and save a run for you and just make it easy, right? You go ahead and pair these with some regular flyers, like the rare flyers, and then drop the Legos. Most units are going to go ahead and target actually the rare flyers. That allows your legendary flyers, your lightning guards, right, to go ahead and get through, maybe take out the Eye, maybe take out the Praetus, maybe take out the healer or whoever's in the back line. That's where these units are really going to come in handy for you. So, pretty good. I mean, once again, right? Level 5, 15% attack. I imagine that is probably insane on these units because they already chunk, right? They're also really good if you're trying to like go ahead and pop a Boreas passive like super quick and then drop units in. They're pretty good. You'll be surprised, but these units tend to kind of snipe out the tanks to get them low, and then it allows you to clean up. Axes are probably the best unit. They hit hard, especially level 5. Level 5 is almost a must for the axes. They will really just start to do damage, right? Level 4, you're not really going to see as much, but once they get to 5, man, it's a different ball game. They'll start one-shotting tanks like super easy. You'll see the tank go from like 100% HP to like 40%, like a blink of an eye. It's insane. So these are good. You get that from Gear Raid 3. They're honestly not the most common drop from Gear Raid 3 from my experience. They're pretty consistent, but you're going to have to farm for it. You're going to have to dedicate some time to getting them. So super good. I think everyone that uses axes probably loves them. Really good against, obviously, like Regulus. Really good against Brokir. Not good against Cyrus. Just, well, most things aren't good against Cyrus, right? He just functions differently. Dogs. These are the more common drops from Gear Raid 3, right? You'll probably get a lot of dogs through. Level 5 is super important. You get additional speed. They run way faster. They get through to the crystal in like 0.2 seconds. Super useful. But they're also squishy, right? So if you're going to use them, you kind of need to already have consumed all the block from the tank before you drop them. Otherwise, any hits, they're gone, right? So need to have those 5. Necros, probably the most frustrating drop in the entire game. It's ridiculous. It is, makes no sense. So level 5 is a absolute must for high level guild v guild. Reason being is everything nowadays does AoE damage. Everything. And if they don't do AoE damage, they do single target damage at a very high potency. Like they'll just one shot you. So level 5 Necros, super important. Honestly, I always say it takes about 28,000 diamonds worth of stamina to get level 5 Necros. You just gotta farm, Gear Raid 1. So it's not gonna help you too much on BP because unfortunately, Gear Raid 1 just gives you Warlord and then Immortal, whatever it's called, right? But that's a tank set. So you gotta just farm. One day you're gonna say, dude, I need level 5 Necros, and you're gonna farm Gear Raid 1 for 5-6 weeks. Just gotta do it, right? Super useful. Probably the strongest overall, strongest unit in Demon Soldier world, right? They're just so versatile. Being able to spawn skeletons, take up the block, especially pair these with some healers, that is the most common swarming strategy. You just gotta farm for them. That's the only negative, right? You can spend forever farming for them, but once you get them level 5, man, they're strong. Honestly, I would say Necros and Axes probably the 2 MVPs in GVG right now. They're just so good. Now, Scalekin Warrior. You get them from GR1, Gear Raid 1. You're not really going to use them that often. The main thing is if you're trying to go proc ults, then he's kind of good. But you really need to make sure that you wait before you drop the other units because he'll speed them up, right? That's kind of like his whole thing. He speeds up units, makes them run faster. And then your run just kind of goes to the wayside because of it. So you're dropping them, just drop them ahead of time, proc ults, or honestly, what some people do is they'll go ahead and kind of set up the swarm that they're doing and then drop this guy at the very end, right? Just to kind of speed up the units into running through any defenses that are remaining. Now, he doesn't speed up dogs, but he'll mainly speed up the skeletons, and that can sometimes help your run go through, right? So that's how he works. Bombs. I personally will never use them. I don't like them. I don't like them. Basically, the whole point is get these into the back line. They will explode, take out the units that are around them. I just don't use them because if it works, it's amazing. If it doesn't work, the run is done, right? I just don't like them. You do get them from Gear Raid 1. So that's pretty easily accessible, but I just don't like them. This guy, I'm not even going to talk about him. We don't use him. Nobody uses him. If you're going to use him, might as well use Night of Destruction, like up here. Where is he? Here. 6 cost versus 4 cost. This guy is useless. He is just so outclassed by his legendary counterpart. It's insane. You get him from Gear Raid 3. That's all I'll say. You're just not going to use him. Scourge. You get him from Gear Raid 1. I almost have him level 8. I don't think I will ever use Scourge. Ever. Ever. I'll be on my deathbed before I use Scourge. He's just not good. I'm not even gonna. I'll explain it. Basically, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and fill up the block for the tank, and then kind of put 2 Scourges, and ideally, your units survive long enough to where the Scourge can go into the very back line and just take out whatever units are behind the tank. Does that usually happen? No. He'll probably die before he even gets there. And if he doesn't, your units will, right? There's so many other things you could do before you need to go drop a Scourge, right? He's just not useful. Flyers. These dudes, super useful. Gear Rate 2. If you're trying to bait ults, they're good. If you're trying to just fly through, they're good. Right now, they're just not really commonly used. 5 cost, same cost as a lightning guard. They're just not really used right now. Everything nowadays just does way too much damage. They just get one shot, so yeah. Tank. Everyone needs this dude, obviously, right? Level 5, super nice, 15% bonus HP or defense. Gear Rate 2. This dude will literally tank for days for you, especially if you drop him with a full. This dude, it's amazing. He will literally carry you through. It's so nice. Now, Abyssal Beholders. These dudes are good. There's a lot of interesting strats that you can do, especially once these level 5, because they have 5 units. So technically you get 10 full units, right? So what people will do is, if the defense looks pretty simple, like not too much things are going to nuke them, not too many things are going to take up too much block. What you do is you drop 2 of these, right? So 10 units in total. Drop Scalekin Warrior, and you just watch those little dudes go like missiles. They're just gone, right? They just run past the tank. They're honestly kind of tanky, especially once they get to like level 5. They're pretty tanky, and then you just kind of run through it. They're not really super common right now because with how this map is, there's so many little turns and everything. It just takes up additional time for them, and so they just die. Healers, love these dudes. MVP. They're absolute must whenever it comes to swarming. You kind of need them, right? Level 5 is amazing because they're a little bit tankier. They heal more, and yeah, these dudes are the entire reason why swarming is even possible. They just keep everything alive. So I don't even need to explain it. They're just amazing. Gear Rate 2. Let's see. This dude, I'm not even gonna go through it. White Tower Scholar. Gear Rate 1, he is not used. He is bad. Don't use him. Honestly, you have a much better chance of going ahead and using the Bookkeepers over him. He's another example of good unit, but he's just so severely outclassed by his legendary counterpart. There's no point. These Shadowcasters, amazing. Super good if you're going to go ahead and use them alongside the axes. Super good. They'll kind of chunk out every single unit for you. 10 cost. Easy to just go ahead and assassinate like the tank. This passive, 15% dodge rate. I personally don't have this unit level 5. I'm actually working towards it now. But basically, it procs pretty often apparently. So super strong. Also, one of their main benefits is their 4 cost and their 2 block, right? You're never going to use them to go ahead and fill up the block of a tank, where you're really going to use them to go ahead and pair well with axes to take out the tank, right? So that's nice. Necro, or not Necro, Pharaoh Guard, super useful. Gear Rate 2, tanky, great against Hex, great against Ajax, great against Praetus. Pair him with the Fool, he will never die. He will never die, unless there's like a Ymrit and Nora, because, you know, somehow that kills him. Everything else doesn't. But Ymrit and Nora will. So these dudes, Garnet Guards, the talk of last season, season 5. They're pretty strong. They chunk. You get them in Gear Rate 1, which actually, fun fact, they were randomly released into the Gear Rate 1 pool mid-season 1. But people didn't know that they were released until towards the end. So Moonton likes to do that, right? But basically, these dudes are super useful for cost. They are mainly going to, target the platform units. You kind of want to just assess the situation because now what people do is they'll go ahead and make their units tankier, like 40,000 HP, right? If they are able to, so they'll actually survive the garnets. You just have to kind of eyeball it and just hope for the best. Archers, these used to be super useful, but they're really just not as useful as they once were. You go ahead and get these from Gear Raid 3. These are probably one of the more common drops from Gear Raid 3. It's between them and the axes as like the, well, no. Between them and, let's see, dogs and this dude. In terms of common bucket for the epic soldiers. Dax Follower, useless, don't use him. Some people use him. I don't. I just have no reason to. He gives a damage boost to the units, right? Actually, I'm wrong. He doesn't give a damage boost. Ah, they receive additional damage. Still, I'd rather just drop axes and then drop shadowcasters. Useful, but not practical. These dudes, useless. Don't ever use them. Like, they go ahead and freeze. Who cares? When you have zero, like C defense, C magic resist, you're probably just gonna get popped, right? So no need for these. You get them in Gear Raid 3. I feel like I never see them ever, right? And that's all the epics and legendaries. I could go about the rares, but they're kind of self-explanatory. This dude sucks. I don't have him yet, but he sucks. Here's why. His whole purpose is to go ahead and give magic resist to your units, right? That's what he does. But you know what he was supposed to do? Help with Ingrid, help with Praetus. You know what he doesn't do? Help. You wanna know why? He receives 10% more damage from Watchers and Arbiters. Do you know who's a Watcher? Who's an Arbiter? Where is she? Why? Why release a unit that is supposed to help with magic resist when they're weak to the whole unit that you made them for? If anything, what should have happened is he should have 10% less damage received from Watchers and Arbiters. Because realistically speaking, I don't care if he does 10% more damage to them. Why would you double-edged sword him, right? He does 10% more, but takes 10% more. Also, mind you, Ingrid does AoE. She literally does AoE. So he's going to get hit. Kratos, he's going to do his hammer. He is going to get hit. So I'm ending it off on this note. Infernal Cleric, useless. This is Moonton, in my opinion, creating the problem and then trying to sell the solution. But the solution is like getting a skateboard with one wheel. It just doesn't roll. It just doesn't work. So this, if you don't ever use him, right? I mean, your only hope of using him is if it's like a guess against an esoteric team. That's it. But I don't know. It's going to take so long to even get him to be useful because Mouton's also doing this. Kind of putting units under like lock and key with guild rewards. So you're not even guaranteed to get this unit. You probably won't get this unit, right? I have 5 copies of him. It's similar to how they did the Garnets. So they're probably going to drop this dude gear rate 2, I'm going to assume, right? And it's going to be middle of the season, and that's going to ideally maybe shake things up. But until then, esoteric teams are going to reign supreme in terms of magic damage. You're not going to have this unit. Ingrid's going to pop him. Just not good, right? So maybe in the future he'll be useful, kind of similar to Garnets, but as of right now, it's kind of like wait and see, right? So we'll see. Anyways,